Species Spotlight.
The Dwarf Rasbora, also known as the spotted rasbora, is a very peaceful species that are most suited to a nano or heavily planted aquarium. However, even though these fish are pretty small, they still require a decent amount of swimming space. Dwarf rasboras are shoaling fish, therefore it would be best to keep them in a group of at least 8 individuals. Keeping this species in more extensive shoals will not only result in a more colourful display, but will make your fish feel more secure and more active. Unfortunately, dwarf rasboras are not suitable for the typical community aquarium due to their very timid nature and small size. In addition, these fish are easily stressed if kept with most other species. They are, however, suitable for aquariums with other nervous and tiny fish species such as other small rasboras, small danios, dwarf barbs such as the golden dwarf barb, pygmy corridorus and smaller loaches. The ideal aquarium setup for these dwarf rasboras would contain a soft sandy substrate and a few driftwood roots and branches to provide plenty of shaded areas. The addition of dried leaf litter will further emphasise the natural feel and boost microbial colonies' growth as decomposition occurs. You can leave the leaves in the aquarium to break down entirely, or you can remove them and replace them every few weeks. It would be better to use fairly dim lighting to simulate the fish's natural habitat, adding aquatic plants that will survive under these conditions such as Microsorum, Java moss, Anubias and Cryptocorin. Also, filtration does not need to be particularly strong as these fish mainly come from sluggish and still waters and may struggle if there is a fast current. The overall body colour of dwarf rasboras is orangey red. They possess a large dark spot on the side of their body, a small dark spot on the base of their caudal fin and a smaller dark spot at the bottom of the anal fin. In addition, their dorsal and anal fin has dark markings along the interior edge highlighted with intense red on males. The size and shape of the dark marking at the base of the anal fin can be highly variable and may be represented by 2 distinct markings. The dwarf rasboras is closely related to several other species such as chili rasboras, phoenix rasboras and the exclamation point rasbora, and can be somewhat challenging to differentiate to the untrained eye. The dwarf rasboras are endemic to Thailand, Peninsular Malaysia and Singapore in southeastern Asia. However, there have also been reports of this species being present in Borneo and Sumatra in Indonesia. These fish are widely distributed in Malaysia, while the other countries have more limited populations. In addition, populations from various countries have different patterns and colorations. Dwarf rasboras inhabit blackwater rivers and streams associated with peat swamps. They live amongst fallen leaves and branches in brownish water caused by the release of tannins. The water in these areas is usually really soft and acidic. In addition, these fish are often found in regions that have a low pH level. Unfortunately, it is believed that the habitat of this species is endangered due to farming and human development. Dwarf rasboras are micropredators that feed on worms, small insects, crustaceans and other zooplankton in the wild. This species will accept good quality dried food of a suitable size, however you should not feed them this exclusively. Instead, provide them with daily meals of small live and frozen foods such as Artemia, Daphnia and such like. This will bring out the best coloration of your fish and encourage them to come into breeding conditions. It is very straightforward to differentiate the males from female dwarf rasboras. The females have much rounder bellies and are typically larger than males. In contrast, males are slender and have more intense colouring than females, especially the dominant males. Like many rasboras, the dwarf rasbora is an egg-scattering non-stop spawner that does not display parental care. However, in the presence of both males and females, they can lay small numbers of eggs daily. In a well-planted established aquarium, small numbers of fry may also begin to show up without human intervention. If you want to raise higher numbers of fry, the fish will require a more controlled approach. You can still condition the adult group together, but set up a separate tank. This tank should be very dimly lit, with the bottom either left bare or covered with some mesh with significant holes so that any eggs that fail to stick to the plants can pass through, but small enough so that the adults cannot get to them. The water itself should be slightly acidic and the temperature will need to be somewhat higher than usual. A good sized clump of Java moss or other fine leaf plants should also be placed in the tank, taking up about half the available space. Filtration is unnecessary, but you can use a small air-powered sponge filter if you like. You should then introduce 2 or 3 pairs of well-conditioned adult fish into the tank. Again, it is sensible to make the transfer slowly to avoid extreme stress levels. However, if the water conditions are suitable, they may initiate spawning the following morning. Once spawning has begun, it should continue daily. However, the parent should ideally only be kept in the breeding tank for a couple of days. You can expect the first eggs to begin hatching by the second day. The tiny babies will survive on their yolk sacs for around 24 hours. After that, the fry will require infusoria, paramecium or other microscopic food. Then, around a week to 10 days later, the fry should be big enough to accept foods like baby brine shrimp and microworm.